Ready, set, hut, hut.
As the hills of West Virginia resound with the sound of Golden Blue football.
Almost heaven, West Virginia.
Now let's bring on the Mountaineers. Goes around about the 50 to 10 to 5. A touchdown, West Virginia. He did it.
He did it. Patrick White. Touchdown, Tay Von Austin.
The Don Nehlen's Mountaineers enjoy walking in where angels fear to tread.
I think you think that these guys are going to fall over dead for you. Well, I got news for you. They're going to punch you right in the mouth. It's Mountaineer pride!
Nothing cheap, nothing dirty, but West Virginia football. West Virginia football.
We've no doubt tonight they shouldn't have played the old Golden Blue. Not this night!
They've done it. They've done it. A perfect season. And the Mountaineers, for the first time in history, undefeated and untied.
Don Nehlen and his Mountaineers, for the second time, have finished a regular season with an unblemished mark.
Ain't no stopping the Golden Blue.
It is a great night to be a Mountaineer wherever you may be.
What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome into another live stream here on the Country Roads webcast. The second April 3rd edition today. Brought you the basketball version earlier, highlighting the Ross Hodge press conference and some transfer portal news on that side. Told you guys to be back later today to a football show. Of course, at that time, I kind of expected we would have a Rich Rodriguez press conference after every practice session throughout this spring. He's done one. I understand why he didn't do one today with the Ross Hodge press conference going on, media members covering that, writing articles on that, having to do the United Playbook video with him as well. I'm sure that's why they decided not to do a press conference today for Rich Rod. But even with that, I wanted to hold up my end of the bargain here and come back and give you guys the promised football show. So we have recruiting news to talk about and transfer portal news to talk about as well on the football side. A couple of transfers that West Virginia is believed to be targeting in the portal once that opens following spring practice, including one that is confirmed to take a visit, another one that is rumored to maybe take a visit. And then Saturday, we have a very special high school quarterback that's visiting the Mountaineers that I want to highlight as well. So we'll talk about those things. I got a couple videos to share as well. Other than that, this will pretty much be kind of a Q&A for you guys here as far as football is concerned, but super excited for sure. Super excited for sure. Appreciate you guys tuning in here on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube. If you're on Facebook or Twitch, encourage you to come over to the YouTube side where we've put out multiple pre-recorded videos and podcast episodes you can check out as well. Just over the past 24 hours, we've put out a new episode of the CRW podcast with me and Steven, a recruiting update on running back Jet Walker that West Virginia added to the 2026 class, a spring game primer for you guys to know the jersey numbers for the current players, and of course, did another live stream earlier today in addition to the one that I did yesterday. So, 6-7 videos over the past couple of days you guys can check out if you come over to the YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe here. Stay up to date on everything going on throughout the Mountaineer sports world. If you're in here watching live or on a playback on YouTube, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Help us out with the algorithm. And if you are in here live, throw any questions, comments you got there in the chat. I will get to some of those as we go through the stream here. Like I said, it'll be a little bit more Q&A than usual. I do have some things to share, mainly the transfer and recruiting updates. The recruiting update I'm super excited about. Really hope we can land this quarterback. We'll talk about him momentarily. Want to give some people a chance to roll in here. So let's start off with some WVU adjacent news. Then let's talk about the transfer targets that West Virginia is after. But as far as the WVU adjacent news, how about this one? Geno Smith signing a 2-year, $85.5 million extension with the Raiders, who the team that he just joined there. It includes $66.5 million in guaranteed money per a source. Smith is now contractually tied to Las Vegas through the 2027 season. So can't say enough about Geno. His late career resurgence and now inking a big deal, well-deserved for a great West Virginia quarterback that is now having a great NFL career here in the latter portion of his career. So definitely wanted to highlight that as well. But let's talk about these transfer targets. There are a couple of them that we need to highlight here. One of these here for sure. And that is, if I can find the tweet here, Mudia Rubin. He will take visits to USF and West Virginia in the near future. His agent told On3, Pete Nako's putting this out on X, has 283 career receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. So the numbers don't necessarily blow you away, but he did suffer a season-ending injury last season that kind of stumped his development a little bit. I think he was on a path to have a really good season. He had burst onto the scene the year prior and started becoming a starting receiver there at Stanford, has now hit the portal following that injury, and West Virginia in contention for his services. So let's take a look here, learn a little bit more about Mudia Rubin. We'll pull up his bio here on the Stanford site rather. 6'2", 210, so good size there. Junior, originally from Kansas City, Missouri. And you see here in his career, last year played the first 3 games of the season before having a season-ending injury. Had 4 receptions, 31 yards, and a touchdown prior to that. But as a sophomore was when he really started to look like he was going to bust onto the scene there. He appeared in 10 games and made 3 starts and was set to have a breakout junior season, but then, of course, suffered that injury. Did have 15 catches for nearly 200 yards during that sophomore season. You come down here and you see, though, how highly regarded he was coming out of high school. Number 11 player in the state of Missouri by Rivals, number 12 by ESPN, and number 14 by 247 and On3. So a top 15 player in the state of Missouri, no matter what service you look at there. A top 100 receiver by most services as well. 71 by Prep Star, 72 by Rivals, 95 by On3. 109 by 247 and 113 by ESPN. Offensive Player of the Year there in Kansas City, first team all-district and all-conference. Had 1,000 receiving yards and 14 touchdowns on only 48 catches as a senior. Set a school record with 23 receiving touchdowns throughout his career. Led his high school there to back-to-back conference titles and to the district finals. So highly regarded coming out, has great size, hasn't quite reached his potential yet, but if WVU could land him, maybe he would do that in Morgantown. He'll be visiting USF and WVU. So there's a transfer to look out for as the portal will open post-spring. And then, of course, we also have one that is probably more well-known to Mountaineers as he kind of began his career here being a Morgantown native, and that is Ohio defensive tackle Cam Rice. Officially entered the transfer portal as a grad transfer. 247 reporting this, Chris Hummer and Matt Zenitz. During his career at Rice, 30 tackles, 9 TFLs, and 3 sacks this past season. So really good numbers this past season, especially when you look at 9 TFLs and 3 sacks. That's pretty good for a defensive tackle. Obviously began his career at WVU, and you look here at his bio, and you can see originally from Morgantown. I think this will be a good pickup to add to the defensive line. 6'3", 290. Rumored to potentially be visiting in the near future as well. Would love to see that happen. So we know Mudia Rubin, a wide receiver from Stanford, is going to visit WVU in the near future, and maybe Cam Rice as well, which I think we stand a good shot at landing Cam Rice with him being a West Virginia native. Now has kind of had a good career there at Ohio, enters the portal as a grad transfer. Maybe he comes back to WVU to finish up his career. 6'3", 290 there. As a prospect, you see he was a top 10 player in the state of West Virginia and has really developed throughout his college career. As you see last year, 9 TFLs and 3 sacks. So those are the couple of transfers that I wanted to talk about, a couple transfer targets that West Virginia will be looking at as the portal opens here in the near future following West Virginia concluding spring football. But we really want to highlight a speedy quarterback that's going to be visiting WVU on Saturday. So that's what we'll do momentarily. But I want to catch up on some of your all's comments. Like I said, this episode will be Q&A just as much as anything. So I want to get to some of your guys' comments here as well. Let's see. Matt Dix, good to see you in here, man. I haven't seen you in here in a couple of streams. Appreciate you as always, man. That running back WVU got from Texas, Jet Walker, absolutely the white kid version of Quincy Wilson. Yeah, man, I don't know if you got a chance to watch our recruiting update we put out on him this morning, shared some of his huddle highlights, and looks like you've taken a look at him as well. What I was blown away by was I knew he had the good size, 6'2", 215 already, but man, he has excellent speed and contact balance to go with that size. Really excited about Jet Walker joining that 2026 class, which now has 3 commits. Sam Hamilton, the tight end out of Ohio, Jafar G. Noel, a speedy receiver out of Florida, and now Jet Walker, the running back out of Texas. They're excited about him as well. Hey, Raven, good to see you also. She says, can't wait for football season. Hopefully we can pull some guys from the portal. Hoping for the same. I think we're going to go out, add, probably 10 to 12 more guys once this portal opens post-spring, but I'll be interested to see what we do with the roster, who stays and who goes. Of course, we'll be covering that all here on the Country Roads webcast as that develops throughout the offseason, so keep it locked here with us, and we'll see what guys West Virginia does pull from the portal. Brian says, thanks for that roster update. Appreciate that, Brian. Yeah, definitely try to bring that, I called it the Spring Showcase Primer because I think, a lot of people probably don't realize that the Spring Showcase won't be televised this year, won't be on the radio. So, and where they're not splitting up the teams gold versus blue like they traditionally do, I'm guessing there won't really be a program. So if you want to know, who's going to be out there on the field playing, there's a lot of newcomers. And so we need to know those guys' jersey numbers. So I put out that video so people could do that and, said, maybe screenshot that. You can look at that as a kind of a reference point if you're up there at the Spring Showcase. That's what I'm going to do so I can see who's out there making plays and know who's who for sure. Appreciate that, Brian. Hey, Raven said, Geno, can West Virginia get a couple million, please? 60-some guaranteed. How about a little donation to the NIL, Geno? That'd be nice. That'd be nice for sure, Raven. Could definitely help out. Matt Dick says WVU needs offensive line. Yes, absolutely. We really do need some offensive line. Moving forward, I think we'll see multiple guys added on the offensive line once that portal window opens. Following the spring, we've brought in several. We're going to add more there. That's one of the positions of need for sure, Matt. Definitely. Matt Dick said he was just looking at Cam Rice. Seen people say he's going to help our D-line this year. Ohio has a nice program down there. They took him from 230 to 290. Really developed a ton throughout his career there. And funny enough, we play Ohio as well. So if we do end up landing him, he would get the chance to play against his former team. Funny enough, we play at Ohio this season as well, which is another interesting wrinkle there. Would love to have him on. Help out our defensive line, finish his career as a Mountaineer, and it would kind of come full circle for him, right? That would be nice to see as well. Eric Flowers, it's almost 7. Have we picked up any B-ballers yet? Come on, Harris. Not yet. I'm hoping to get some good news on that in the near future. Still got those fingers crossed for Buck Harris maybe returning as well, Eric. I think we'll start to see some commits roll in there on the basketball side in the near future. Matt Dick said we need that Stanford wide receiver. Also want that Stanford linebacker that was an All-American. Yeah, we'll take all comers, especially All-Americans. Yeah, sign me up for that for sure. Eric Flowers says that Jet Walker kid will cost us a fortune if we can keep him. 3-star now, has another season like that. He'll be a solid 4 or more. Yeah, that's what I'm watching for, is for his recruiting rank to skyrocket if he has a senior season like he had a junior season, because, 2,300 rushing yards, nearly 11 yards per carry is phenomenal. If he recreates that one more year, he's going to shoot up those recruiting rankings, and hopefully we can keep him as a Mountaineer for sure. No TV at all this year for the spring game, Matt. The only way to watch it is if you're heading up to Morgantown. Not going to be broadcast on the radio, and no ESPN Plus this year for sure. Hate that, but, just another incentive to head up there to Morgantown and check it out. Free tickets this year, so no reason for us not to pack out the place. A lot of fun activities as well, including letting fans on the field for 30 minutes after the game, meet and greet the players, take some pictures, all of that good stuff as well, much like last year, which was awesome, and really excited to get to do that again. Whisker said this Walker kid is amazing on tape. Yeah, hopefully you guys had a chance to check out our recruiting update we put out on him earlier. Shared some of those highlights, and they are impressive, and his numbers are just as impressive. Really excited about his addition. And that's a great transition to talking about the quarterback recruit that I would love to have join this class as well. I think that this guy is tailor-made for a Rich Rod system. He has incredible speed and a really strong arm to boot, and an awesome name as well. Let's talk a little bit about him. He'll be visiting on Saturday. Fingers crossed we can get good news on him. It would really give me amazing feels about this 2026 class already, especially on the offensive side. We have a speedy receiver. We have the really talented Jet Walker kid at running back. And if we can add this quarterback in the 2026 class, I think it'll more than make up for, losing Brody McWhorter, because I think that this kid is more of a fit for the Rich Rod offense than Brody McWhorter was anyway. Let's talk about Legend Bay. What a name as well. Legend. I mean, you've got to love that in and of itself. And he will be at West Virginia for an official visit. There you see him sharing the graphic on his social media. He also shared on his social media his top 10 right now. And West Virginia, a lot of schools battling for Legend Bay. Oregon, Notre Dame, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Ohio State, Texas Tech, Duke, Boston College, and of course the Mountaineers. But we're in there, and I think that he has a good connection with new inside receivers coach Logan Bradley, who, as Rich Rod mentioned, one of the main reasons we went out and got Logan Bradley is because he's a dynamic recruiter. And if he can land someone like Legend Bay already, then, man, our recent additions are really paying off, as Larry Porter was the main recruiter for Jet Walker. And if we can land Legend Bay with Logan Bradley playing a part in that, I think that shows that these guys are excellent recruiters. Let's talk a little bit about Legend Bay's game, because this guy is a super speedy quarterback. Reminds you of some others that you've seen have great success in Rich Rod offenses, as we've talked about in the past. On a recent stream, we talked about the conference players of the years that he's coached. You can go all the way back to Jed Drenning at Glenville State, to Sean King at Tulane, to Woody Dantzler at Clemson, to Rasheed Marshall, to Pat White, to Khalil Tate at Arizona, to Denard Robinson at Michigan, to Tyler Huff last year at Jack State, who was the CUSA Player of the Year, over 2,000 yards passing and over 1,200 yards rushing. And let's talk a little bit about Legend Bay. As you see, the college football liaison talking a bit about him here, said he's watched 2026 quarterback Legend Bay out of Texas high school football since he was in 8th grade, and has an official visit with WVU football this upcoming weekend. Reminds me of a quarterback that played for Coach Rod in Tucson, that being the one and only Khalil Tate, and says he would be unstoppable in the Rich Rod offense. And we even have a video here kind of comparing the two, as you can see, and I'll show some more of Legend Bay's game. I'm going to pull up his huddle highlights to show you guys as well, but check this out. This is nice seeing both of them together here. Khalil Tate and Legend Bay. Legend Bay on the top here, and of course Khalil Tate, legendary quarterback to put up a ton of numbers for Rich Rod at Arizona. As you can see here, look at Legend Bay take off there, and you can see the style comparison that he's talking about there with the way Khalil Tate runs and the way Legend Bay runs. And look at him fighting through that pile, getting loose, and then showcasing the speed. And he's not a guy with great size, but man, is he tough, a tough runner at that. And there you see the strong arm as well. Look at the distance on that throw, hitting the deep ball in stride. And you see the comparison with Khalil Tate there on the bottom, who had great speed himself there as well. So there's the comparison between the two, a quarterback that he compares him to. But let's pull up his huddle tape here and watch some of his highlights further, so you guys can see why I'm so excited about this visitor that West Virginia is going to have coming up this Saturday. He'll be at the Spring Showcase, be in Morgantown over the weekend. And, that's a big component into getting a guy to commit to WVU, is once you get him on campus, you got a good shot, I think. So maybe we could come away with a commitment from Legend Bay, and he is a quarterback I'm excited about. Let's take a look here. This is huddle tape, as you can see here. Watch this run. It's the same one you just saw, but you get a better look at it here now as we get it full screen. Look at that, fighting through all those tackles, keeping the legs turning, and then once he gets loose, you're not catching him. He's a guy that broke, track and field records as well. So excellent speed to go along with this arm that you're going to see right here on this highlight. As you see his man beat him deep. He has the strong arm to go with the speed, so multifaceted game there. Not only a great runner, but can throw the rock as well, which is, of course, necessary play in the quarterback position. But look at this right here. Look at the vision there. Bounce it outside and forget about it, man. Guy had the angle on him, and he just ran by him like he was nothing, and there's no one within 15 yards of him by the time he gets to the end zone. You can't tell me that this isn't a prototypical fit for the Rich Rod offense. Look at this. Look at that jump pass. Still gets it down the field accurately to his man right there. As you can see, gave the look of the run and then hits kind of the Tim Tebow jump pass on a long pass. That's typically something you see on the goal line. And here he is, standing in the pocket, nothing there, so he's going to make something happen. Look at the elusiveness to make guys miss, and then the speed, like I said, is just unbelievable. I think that he would be, kind of similar to, we've talked about Khalil Tate, but what Pat White was as well, as far as being, obviously no one's Pat White, but what I mean as far as being one of the faster players on your team would then be playing your quarterback spot. Something Pat White did, something Denard Robinson did for Rich Rod at Michigan, something Khalil Tate did for him at Arizona. Legend Bay could do that at WVU as well. And I love the fact that he has excellent contact balance to get off of these hits because he doesn't have great size. He's only, right around, a little bit under 6 foot. I think he's 5'10", 5'11", 170 pounds, I think right now. Would probably have to add a little bit more weight. But, we've seen guys come in at that stature and grow in the strength and conditioning program and become an absolute force. Pat White did that. He redshirted a year, and then he was ready to go. Played at about 190 pounds, and I think Legend Bay could easily reach that type of frame. There you see another great throw, as well as the passing is part of his game, in addition to the great runs. One more play here, but this is about 11 minutes long. If you guys want to watch the entire thing, check it out over on Huddle. Another great throw, hitting a receiver in stride there. Let's get one more. See if we can get one more look at a run here, man, because I just love watching this guy run the football. Here we go. From under center, reversing out, kind of a bootleg action there, and then he's gone with a blocker in front, man. That's only about 3 minutes of this highlight video. Like I said, it's 11 minutes long, but I was blown away when I looked up Legend Bay's highlights. And let's pull him up here, his profile currently on 247 and Rivals, because he, I think, is a guy that is an automatic take for West Virginia. You saw the programs that were after him. He already has 30-plus offers as a recruit here in this 2026 class. And if you can add him to what we already have, we're looking good. Future cast to TCU right now, but West Virginia in the mix, 50%. 5'11", 185 is what Rivals lists him at. Currently rated as a 3-star, but I think this is kind of a similar to Jet Walker situation. Could still skyrocket in those recruiting rankings. His size maybe hurt him a little bit. Not exactly prototypical size for the quarterback position, but he's a prototypical fit for a Rich Rod quarterback in a Rich Rod offense. And man, that name's perfect as well. Legend Bay. I mean, who doesn't want a quarterback named Legend Bay? We just got a running back out of Texas. Let's go get a quarterback as well. Visiting this Saturday for the spring game. And as you can look here, I mean, the offer list is incredible. I named a ton of them, but you can see even more there for Legend Bay, 30-plus offers. So this is one that I'm definitely keeping an eye on. I think it would be a huge pickup for the Mountaineers. If you're up at the spring showcase, you see him, tell him how much you'd like to have him in Morgantown. Reach out to him on social media. Let's make a push to try and get Legend Bay to join this 2026 class that West Virginia is continuing to build here. That could be the quarterback of the future if we could land him, guys. I truly believe that. You can tell by the excitement in my voice as I've talked about him throughout here on this stream. Really excited about that Speedy quarterback recruit. So take a swig of my coffee, and then I'll catch up on some of your all's comments. Other than that, I just got a couple video clips I want to share. The rest of this stream, I'll just let you guys run the thing here. Any questions, comments you guys have, throw them in the chat. I'll answer some of those. Like I said, won't be too lengthy, but did want to hold up my promise that I'd come back and do a football show, even though we had no Rich Rod press conference today. Did have some nice things to highlight here as far as transfer targets and Legend Bay, the quarterback recruit there as well. All right, Kenny, good question here. Are we going on the can trip here, Kenny Evans asks? I'm guessing you mean the trip that they usually take the basketball team. I haven't heard one way or the other on that, but I would expect them to if they can get the roster, put together in time. I guess that's the main thing, but hopefully they'll be able to. Channel member Kenny Evans also asks, what position do we need to focus on? Well, according to Rich Rod, multiple positions, but I definitely think that we'll be adding O-line for sure. That's something we'll be adding. I'm expecting probably anywhere from 10 to 12, more additions to this roster, which is interesting. And the thing I want to keep highlighting here, because I know people like to think the sky is falling when guys transfer out, there is going to be a lot of people leaving the West Virginia football program, transferring out after spring. Let me repeat that one more time. Is this thing on? There's going to be a lot of people transferring out of West Virginia following the spring, but that's by design. West Virginia is over the roster limit. You're only going to have a 105-player roster limit. They want to have the best 105 possible. Right now, there's already 108 players on the roster. There's 14 signees that still have yet to come in. So you're going to have to make a ton of changes. Plus, they want to add probably, at least a couple handfuls of more transfers. So you're going to see 20-plus players probably leave this roster after the spring. But we're going to go out and get some really good players as well. Positions to focus on, Kenny. I think they'll add some more defensive backs. I think they've talked about adding more depth at receiver. You'll definitely see at least probably one or two more receivers. Moody Rubin is one that we know is visiting from Stanford. Cam Rice, defensive lineman, originally from West Virginia, rumored to be visiting as well. I think O-line you'll see for sure. Receiver you'll see for sure. Defensive back you'll see for sure. Beyond that, kind of wait and see, what spots they have. They've talked about adding another Speedy running back maybe as well, if they can add one more running back. But I think for sure receiver in both areas of the trenches, offensive and defensive line for sure. Shannon Miller says the baseball team may be special this year as we wait for football. Yeah, that was a lot of fun last night as we recorded episode 219 of the CRW podcast. Steven and he was watching the baseball game. So if you haven't checked out that episode, check it out. You can literally see him reacting to some of the stuff going on as West Virginia whooped up on Pitt on the baseball side of things. That was pretty fun. He follows baseball more than I do. I'm hoping to watch them play Saturday, though, after the spring showcase. They play, I think, at 4. If the rain holds off, we're going to try and go over there and watch the baseball team. And yeah, they're having a special year. I don't know the exact record, but it's 20 plus wins and only, I think, 3 losses right now. Should be ranked. Don't know how they're not, but if they continue, they're definitely going to get up into those rankings. Who knows? Maybe host a regional in Morgantown once it comes around. Definitely a special season so far for the baseball team. Their first year with Steve Sabins at the helm managing them. So gotta like that there, Shannon Miller, for sure. Eric Flowers says he worries about his size. I'm guessing in reference to Legend Bay. Yeah, I get that, but I think you've seen quarterbacks have success with that size a lot in the Rich Rod system. One of them being Pat White, who I think was always listed at 6'1", 192, but that may have been being a little bit generous. And, Legend Bay, I think, is, 5'11", 185 right there. So very similar frame to those guys that have had success. Denard Robinson was a similar build to that as well. I think once he gets here, you could easily get him up, into the mid to high 190 range as far as weight is concerned, especially if he would redshirt a year, which he would probably have to size-wise. But, man, that speed that he brings would be so effective in the Rich Rod scheme for sure. Matt said he's looked at Bay also. 247 reporting crystal ball to A&M. Interesting that 247 has him crystal ball at A&M, but Rivals has him forecasted to TCU. So maybe they're looking for him to stay in Texas. But I think the wild card here is his connection with Logan Bradley. That could maybe get West Virginia a leg up, and the fact that we're getting him in on a visit, that's only going to help us. Fingers crossed we get good news. We've got a couple of quarterbacks that we're targeting in this class. Legend Bay is my favorite of those, but if we don't end up landing him, I think there's some other good options as well. But still got my fingers crossed for Legend Bay for sure. And as Matt mentions there, Oregon's does have a ton of NIL money, so if they want him, they can go after him and maybe get him, of course, backing with that Phil Knight backing, but we'll see what happens. Hey, and that's a good point as well, Matt. West Virginia may be one of the only ones that gives them a shot to play quarterback, much like a legend that we know in the past, as Matt's talking about there from Daphne, Alabama, someone else that everyone else was going to make play defensive back or receiver or something. West Virginia gave him a shot at quarterback, and that worked out pretty good. Legend Bay, I think could have a great career if we could get him to WVU as well. Raven said, our coaching staff alone, full of legends, can't wait to start winning some games. Yeah, I've raved about this coaching staff a ton. I think that this is arguably the best coaching staff assembled in WVU football history. If they can assemble a really good roster to go along with it, which I think they will be able to. They brought in a ton of good transfers in the first window. I think in this next window they're going to do the same. I think their wins are going to come, and they're going to come in short order. They're going to build a monster here. We're going to be back to glory for sure. Let's see what else here. Shannon Miller says, if anyone can give us a chance at Bay, it's Rich. What we are about is tailored to his game. Exactly. I think that that's something that could maybe sell him on WVU is, they get him in here. We've talked about, Logan Bradley being an ace recruiter. We have Pat White on staff. So, when he visits, Pat White can talk to him and tell him about it as well. Let's not forget that recruiting tool being as kind of our ace in the hole. But then, Rich Rod can sit there and talk to him about the quarterbacks that we listed that have been all-conference players for him. He has one of them right there, Pat White, that he can point to and say, hey, look what this guy did at WVU. But he can also, go down the long list and even say, hey, look what I did last year with Tyler Huff at Jack State. He ran for 1,200 yards, and he's a guy that probably runs a 4.7 or 4.8 40-yard dash. Imagine how many yards you could run for in this offense with your speed. So definitely we have plenty of recruiting tools. Just got to hope that we're able to sell him better than some of these other programs because he's definitely super highly sought after for sure. Oh, the man trip, Kenny asks. Is the man trip going to... Oh, yeah, I'm sure the Mountaineer man trip's going to continue for pregame. I don't know if they'll be doing it for the spring showcase necessarily. I don't think they usually do. But once the season rolls around, yeah, I would be extremely shocked if the man trip doesn't continue. 25 people are leaving. They didn't make the cut of Rich Rod's boot camp or they didn't fit the system at WVU. Yeah, exactly. Probably going to be around that number at least. Like I said, we're, with the signees coming in, we're at 122. So that's at least 17 that have to leave to get down to 105. But they're going to be more because they're going to want to add more transfers. So probably at least 25, maybe even more players that are going to have to leave this roster following the spring. Matt says we're 24-4 in baseball. Appreciate that. Knew it was 20-plus wins and 3 or 4 losses. Didn't know the exact records. Appreciate that. Utah next week, who we should sweep them. Then Penn State, we should be 27-4 or 28-4 when we go to Houston. He says, yeah, I'm hoping to get to watch them play Utah. I'm not a baseball fan. I've never been able to sit through a full game on TV, but I've always heard that it's much better in person. So if I get a chance to watch them Saturday, I'll get a chance to watch my first baseball game ever and maybe sit through a full baseball game for the first time ever. That would be great for sure. Matt says if we get this kid with these 2 running backs, WS coming in after a couple years, we could have a Big 12 title team. Yeah, let's not forget, what's his name? Armand Hill, I think is the name that we have of the 2027 running back coming in who has had a phenomenal career as well. 400-plus yards rushing in a game. So not only do we have a great running back in the 2026 class, we already have a great running back in the 2027 class as well. Yeah, Armand Hill out of PA had to pull up that 2027 list. So, yeah, they're already doing a great job recruiting for sure. Yeah, Eric says he thought Pat was a bit taller, actually about the exact same size as Legend Bay. Yeah, literally, I think they listed Pat White at 6'1", 192 towards the end of his career, but, they usually beef up those height numbers, so literally they're going to be about the same size, especially by the time Legend Bay gets in and gets a little bit of weight put on him for sure. So fingers crossed, guys. I think that Legend Bay would maybe be the gem of this upcoming recruiting class, this 2026 class for me. He'd be my favorite commit thus far, which is saying something because I really love Jet Walker, if you guys checked out the recruiting video I dropped on him earlier today. So super excited about Legend Bay, guys. I'm going to share these couple video clips I have, and then I will answer your all's questions one more time here. So throw them in the chat, and we'll catch up on those before we wrap up the stream. But a couple video clips here. The first one is just another in the series that we've been highlighting throughout the spring that the WVU media team's been producing as they've interviewed each kind of position coach in that coal rush setting. They've done pretty cool stuff with that. And the next one here is safeties coach Gabe Franklin. So let's see what he had to say.
Gabe Franklin, safeties coach. Being able to coach under Coach Rod and being back together with Coach Alley, and then just this community, the fan base, it's going to be fun. Disciplined, tough playmakers, flying around, making plays, and having a lot of fun doing it.
Sounds good to me. Disciplined, tough playmakers flying around in the defensive backfield. We could use that. We're looking to improve the secondary this year. It's been a weakness for far too long, and I think we've brought in a lot of players that can help do that. Gabe Franklin coaching the safeties, Rod West coaching the cornerbacks. Hopefully they're able to deliver that. And then the other video clip I had was just a nice clip of Coach Rod. It's about 60 seconds long or so on the Always College Football podcast, kind of talking about Morgantown and the atmosphere at Mountaineer Field and how it's one of the best atmospheres in college football. If you guys haven't had a chance to see Rich Rod making the rounds on some of these national shows, it's been a lot of awesome clips, but figured I'd at least share this one with you guys that came out here recently. And then it's up to you guys. Any questions you all got, I'll catch up on some of those, and then we'll call it a stream here. But let's check out this video clip first.
If there's a place that you haven't been that you need to go to, West Virginia always lands on that short list because it's a remarkable experience. It's just, I love calling games there, and you guys have a special place. I think more and more people now are going to be paying attention to that.
Yeah, they know how to tailgate here. Let's go Mountaineers. Let's go drink some beers, right? We're going to tailgate with the best of. We're going to have a good time. This is one of the best atmospheres in college football, and always has been. I'm not going to do the recruiting pitch, but there is no NFL team. There's no NBA team, no WNBA team, no Major League Baseball team, no other Power 4 team. And so our guys get a lot of attention. Our program gets a lot of attention. And that's a neat thing, and that's, I think our guys have a sense of pride, and they will have a sense of pride that you represent the whole state every time West Virginia football takes the field. And we take that part very seriously.
That's right. We do. And, got the whole state behind you. And the one thing I'm excited about is everything that Rich Rod's talked about here throughout the spring has been focused on that hard edge, that new mentality, so that when we go to games, we're going to be able to tell that the team is playing hard, because if players aren't playing hard, they won't play for us. And the other thing that they've been focused on is everything is about winning. Winning is the main goal. All the assistant coaches have been highlighting that hard edge mentality and focus on winning. Those are two things that we need here, and I'm so excited that those things are going to be back in Morgantown here for this 2025 team, which just, I guess less than 48 hours now away from getting our first look at them in the spring showcase. Can't wait to get up to Morgantown on Saturday. Steven and I are heading up. If you're heading up as well, if you see us, say hey. It's going to be a good time up there. A lot of fun activities for the fans, and then get our first look at this Rich Rod 2.0 era, which I'm super excited about. But that's all I had for you guys. If anyone popped in here late, go back, watch, kind of from the beginning. Couple of transfers that are believed to be visiting WVU in the future. Defensive tackle Cam Rice, wide receiver from Stanford as well. And then, of course, we highlighted Legend Bay, a quarterback recruit that we would love for West Virginia to land. It's going to be visiting over the weekend. Great speed, prototypical fit for the Rich Rod offense. Super excited about him. Fingers crossed we can land him and add him to this 2026 class. But I'll continue to keep you guys up to date on the recruiting side of things, on the transfer portal side of things. Both of those are going to be exploding here in the near future, especially the transfer portal. Once spring football wraps up, we'll have a ton of transfer updates coming at you on the Country Roads webcast. So if you're on Facebook or Twitch watching this live, be sure you come over to the YouTube channel and subscribe so you can stay up to date on this roster as it builds as we approach the 2025 season. Trying to get that formulated here with the new 105-player limit, and we're trying to get the best 105 players possible in Morgantown. Those of you that are watching on YouTube, be sure to hit the thumbs up button before you head out, and leave your thoughts in the comments if you didn't get a chance to chat with us live here in the live chat. Other than that, I'm going to catch up on some of your all's comments, and then we will call it a stream, guys. But if you haven't, be sure you check out all the content that we put up over the past 48 hours. There's been a ton of it. Recruiting updates, roster updates to keep you up to date with the new jersey numbers for the newcomers, podcast episode, a basketball stream earlier discussing the press conference takeaways from Ross Hodges' introductory press conference. Of course, this stream. And if you're a channel member, you got behind-the-scenes looks at all those pre-recorded videos and the podcast episodes. And if you're someone that would like to get those behind-the-scene looks, watch us as we record those, get to chat with us, get to add some questions and throw them into our podcast recordings. You can do that by hitting the join button down below or hitting the join button over on the YouTube channel homepage. Love our channel members. They help keep this mic recording and that camera rolling, and we'll always give back to you with that bonus content, including player grades, snap counts, injury reports, depth chart updates, film reviews, game rewatch commentaries once the season rolls around. So ton of content upcoming. And if you're a channel member, you get a little bit extra. So if you're someone that can't get enough Mountaineer sports coverage, highly recommend it. Super cheap and highly beneficial. But you can help us out fast, easy, and free by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing it around throughout Mountaineer Nation. Now let's catch up on some of your all's comments. If you guys got any questions, now's the time. Throw them there in the chat. And other than that, we'll get ready to wrap up another stream here on the CRW. The A&Ms, Alabama, and the like can get the speed and arm strength that they want. It's the tangibles like height and weight that may pass on Bay that gives us a chance to move in. Good point there, Shannon Miller, as well. Kind of goes back into what Matt was talking about earlier. They may try and recruit him and make him change positions. At West Virginia, especially in the Rich Rod offense, he would be guaranteed to stay at quarterback and could potentially be a star at quarterback for sure. Eric says we need to make some I Am Legend names with WVU swag. Hey, if he commits, we certainly do. That would be awesome right there. Got some good merch ideas going, Eric. Got some good merch ideas going for sure. Matt Dick says WVU is about to get some real athletes. Rich Rod had to sell. They were in the Big East last time. This time, these kids will say, hey, they're in the Big 12 and compete for a playoff spot. Yeah, that's a good point as well. Power conference opportunity, win the conference, get into the playoff. And that will help along with the NIL money, which we know the backing is there for Coach Rod, right? Look no further than the guys we got in the transfer cycle the first time. One of the best pass rushers in Jamori Robinson, one of the best cornerbacks in Michael Coach Jr. We outbidded an SEC program to get him. So, there's definitely a chance of us getting a lot of explosive athletes with the money that we have involved and with what Rich Rod is able to sell, as you're talking about there. Especially, I think some of these offensive guys, we've already seen it, with the couple running back commits that we have. Jet Walker in the 2026 class, Armand Hill in the 2027 class. Explosive quarterbacks and explosive running backs want to play in this Rich Rod system because it produces numbers. Number 3 rushing offense in the country last year, even in Conference USA at Jack State. The running back had 1,600 yards and the quarterback had 1,200 yards. So definitely these explosive athletes should want to come and play in this system for sure. Eric Flowers said, I think once we get an 8 or 9 win season, donors will come out of the woodwork. People are a bit gun shy here. We've been hoodwinked a couple of times. We need to see the real McCoy. Yeah, I think that, we already have a good bit of backing on the football side. I think that if we, produce early, it's going to really explode then. But I think with Rich Rod at the helm, donors really wanted that. And I think that's why we've seen us assemble, like I've called it, arguably the best staff in WVU history, ton of money behind that. I think we did a good job in the first portal window. I think we'll do a good job in this one. But if you add wins in with that, oh man, the sky is the limit for sure, Eric. The sky is the limit for sure. Matt said this season will be much more special, especially if we can win 7, 8 to 9 games because we have no expectations. I expect 6-6 this year. Anything above that is special to me with new kids. Yeah, I think that this should be a bowl-eligible team. That's what I've said with looking at the schedule. We'll see how the roster shapes up before, but definitely I think that to me that's the floor right now is 6 wins. We'll see how it develops moving forward. And of course, how West Virginia and his opponents develop their roster as well will factor into that. But hey, if you guys want to hear, our predictions, those will come in August as we'll kick off our 8th season of the CRW podcast. Crazy. We've been at it since 2018 was our first year doing the podcast, our first year doing season predictions. And we always lock in our season predictions with our season prediction roundtable episode coming in August. And hopefully we're not too optimistic. Sometimes we are. But I do think that this team may surprise some people. And I think Rich Rod may surprise some people in year one, especially if he can make some moves that he needs to make in this next transfer portal window for sure. And Eric agrees, says he thinks we can get to a bowl this year, and that's good enough to start. Just give that nice foundation to build on, right? That's how you got to build. You got to start with a solid foundation. Hopefully we do that this year with at least a bowl game. And who knows, maybe we'll surprise people and add a little bit more to that for sure. Matt says Renaud was also Louisiana long jump champion and only recruited by WVU in Indiana. Crazy for how good he was. All-state first team and won a state title. We'll take more of that. Yeah, Renaud was a freak of an athlete. That dude squatted something like, 600 or 700 pounds too, I think. I mean, he was a freak athlete. He was super underrated throughout his career here also. So Rich Rod and company have always been able to go out and find those special athletes, those diamonds in the rough, if you will. They used to call it the land of misfit toys here at WVU, and I think, they'll be able to do that as well. Jet Walker's only a 3-star right now. He's certainly a diamond in the rough. Legend Base somehow is only a 3-star, probably because of the size that we talked about, but you watch his film, and that's super impressive. And like I said, it's tailor-made for this Rich Rod system. So let's hope that we can get him to commit to the Mountaineers in the near future. But we do know that he's visiting this weekend, and that's a positive sign for us, and definitely wanted to highlight that here in this stream. But that's all I had, guys. Appreciate the interactions you guys had here to give us a good bit of extra content with some of your all's questions to make this stream a decent one in length. Did want to come back and do a football stream here for you guys, as I promised earlier, even though we didn't get the Rich Rod press conference I thought we would get. I believe this is the first time that we've had a practice that he didn't have a press conference after, which obviously the Ross Hodge press conference is probably the reason why. But we did still have some football updates as far as transfer targets and a really special quarterback recruit that hopefully West Virginia has a shot at landing. But appreciate you guys as always. Hope you guys head up on Saturday and check out the team. Like I said, if you are there, say hey to me and Steven. We'll both be there. And if you haven't yet, go back in the meantime, in between time, and check out all the content we've put out over the past 48 hours. I think we're up near double digit in video count, especially if you're a channel member. You're definitely hitting that double digit video count that we put out just over the past 48 hours here on the channel. So a ton of content to catch up on if you haven't already, and we'll have plenty more coming in the future as we'll cover this roster, cover this transfer portal news as it develops on the football side. And on the basketball side, there'll be roster and staff news coming, and we'll continue to cover it all here on the CRW. Hit the like button before you head out. Help us with that crazy YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all those updates across both Mountaineer sports. If you didn't get a chance to chat with us live, throw your thoughts in the comments. Appreciate those interactions as we continue to try and grow the CRW community throughout Mountaineer Nation. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Thursday, leading into a great weekend where we get the spring showcase and get to see our first look at the Rich Rod 2.0 era. Super excited about that. Super excited about these recruits we're targeting and these transfers that we're after. Fingers crossed for Legend Bay that he can become a legend at WVU if we can land him in the future. All right, guys. You guys have a good rest of your night. I'll talk to you guys in the near future. As always, I'm Jordan Cruz, and until next time, let's go Mountaineers.